All right, everything working on your side, Lillian?
Yes, everything's working.
Okay, cool. Thank you. All right, it's 6 o'clock on my screen, so we'll be starting. Well, thank you everyone for joining our side event to the All-Atlantic 2021 Conference on the challenges and opportunities in the spread of sargassum across the Atlantic Ocean. The event is hosted by Mercator Ocean International and co-organized by GeoBlue Planet, the European Commission EU for Ocean Ops FPI, the IOC Caribe of the IOC UNESCO, the Atlantic International Research Center, the AIR Center, the Atlantos Program, and the UNEP Cartagena Convention. Once confined to the Sargasso Sea, sargassum is now present across the Atlantic Ocean. Sargassum inundations are marine life ecosystems and disrupt recreation and fishing, costing local communities millions of dollars. This side event addresses challenges, solutions, and opportunities behind the spread of sargassum across the Atlantic Ocean. This event also includes the GeoBlue Planet Sargassum Information Hub and the UNEP Cartagena Convention White Paper on Sargassum. We have today no less than 15 participants from both sides of the Atlantic. Challenges will be addressed by 4 scientists presenting the state-of-the-art research on sargassum, its spread mechanism, our present knowledge in monitoring and forecasting, and its impact on biology and society. The second session will showcase through 5 presentation solutions, whether they be mitigation briefs, a space for information in collaboration, or the use of sargassum as a resource. The speakers will then be joined by 6 high-level panelists for a discussion to catalyze linkages, action, and coordination of stakeholders and scientists addressing the challenges and enhancing opportunities in the spread of sargassum. This discussion will be led by Dr. César Toro from the IOC Caribe of IOC UNESCO. These events will last for 2 hours. The timing is short, so we will not have time to take questions from the audience, but you can ask your questions in the Q&A box. If the question is aimed at a specific speaker, please specify. We will have time, though, for 2 short breaks in between sessions. Without further ado, we will start with the first session. We will have today Dr. Julien Joanneau from the French Institute of Research and Development, who will present our monitoring and forecasting capacity, followed by Dr. Brigitta von Thyssenbroek at the Université Nacional Autónoma de México, who will give us a presentation on sargassum and marine life. And to finish, Dr. Shelley Ann Cox from CERMES Barbados will give us an overview of the impacts of sargassum on society. But first of all, we will have Professor Hazel Oxenford from CERMES Barbados giving us some general background on sargassum. Professor Oxenford, the floor is yours. You are muted, Hazel. If you could just unmute yourself and we will be.
I am so sorry.
No worries.
Thank you, and hello to everybody from across the Atlantic and perhaps beyond. And I'm Hazel Oxenford from the University of the West Indies here at CERMES in Barbados. And I wanted to set the scene for the following talks by telling the sargassum story as it has unfolded here on the front line. Next. The story begins in 2011 with thousands of tons of sargassum seaweed suddenly showing up on our doorstep. This has us scrambling for answers, and this was followed by a recognition of the significant multi-sectoral impacts. At this point, the focus was on learning to cope and sharing lessons learned. And as the story unraveled, so the science improved, and there was a shift towards viewing sargassum not only as a hazard, but also as a potential opportunity. And that leads us to the present, with a focus on mainstreaming. So next slide, if I can start with the initial shot. In the beginning, the lack of knowledge led to a great deal of fear and misinformation, and many mistakes were made. And the lack of prior relevant policy meant that there was no one to take charge and there was a great deal of chaos. Lack of funding was a huge constraint for actually doing anything, and there was major uncertainty about whether Sargassum would continue, and this delayed a planning response. Next slide. We went through a period of scrambling for answers, and there was in fact very limited information available, and it was focused mainly on the biology and ecology of Sargassum, largely from the Sargasso Sea. So the key facts include that Sargassum is a non-toxic brown seaweed with gas-filled bladders that keep it afloat. The Sargassum responsible for the influxes is made up of a mix of 2 species and several morphotypes, and they cling together. And these 2 species are unique in that they spend their entire life cycle floating in the open ocean. And unlike the other hundreds of Sargassum species that grow attached to the bottom, these 2 are only found in the Atlantic. And they grow very rapidly, which means that Sargassum is capable of doubling